Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Calm, Clear Mind podcast. My name is Barry Walsh, and I'm a team member at Kadampa Meditation Centre in Dublin. And alongside me is the principal teacher or resident teacher at Tara KMC, Kadam Adam Star. Kadam Adam has been teaching meditation and Buddhism internationally within the Kadampa Buddhist tradition for over 20 years, having studied under the internationally renowned Buddhist meditation master, Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. So what are we doing in these podcasts? Well, we're trying to help everyone have a calm, clear mind using meditation and this timeless wisdom from Buddha. And what we've done is we've gathered questions for people who attend our centre in Dublin on real life issues that they and probably all of us can relate to. And we're discussing them here in this podcast and how meditation and this timeless wisdom can help. So that's what Kadam Adam is here for. I'm here to ask the questions. So welcome once again, Kadam Adam, to this episode. It was a pleasure, the last one. I hope this one is just as good. How are you today?
Really good. Thanks, Barry. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. So yeah, really looking forward to another good chat today, another good conversation.
Great. Okay. So we'll start with the first question. So today we're looking at meditation and how Buddha's wisdom can help us, particularly in our workplace. So this is probably very important for many of us. So the first question around meditation is, why can I not maintain the peaceful feelings I feel in meditation outside of meditation? Yeah, how can I maintain the peaceful feeling I feel in meditation when I'm outside of meditation?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and again, it's one of those ones that most people come up against. Certainly at the beginning, or maybe we've been meditating for a while and we're still not feeling that deeply and consistently. So at that point, you just want to step back a little bit and just pause for a little bit in your meditation practice, especially if you're at the beginning. It's like learning how to do meditation well, and doing it consistently is the key. And sometimes we need to spend a little bit of time to understand exactly what meditation is, and then gradually learning to become more consistent in our meditation practice. And meditation, the very definition of it is, in the context of the way we're looking at today and the simple way of presenting it today, it's just simply a method for developing and maintaining an increasingly calm, clear, and peaceful mind, and the natural feelings of happiness and well-being that come from that. So in meditation, if you're training well in meditation and you've learned from a lineage that's a qualified lineage that's showing you how to meditate deeply and consistently, that would be your experience over time. So if you're struggling to maintain those feelings of inner peace that you experience in meditation, it doesn't mean you can't meditate or there's something wrong with you at all. It just means you want to just continually refine your understanding of what meditation is and the depth of experience you can experience in meditation until you start to feel it more consistently. But of course, life isn't perfect. Certainly in my experience, even if you've been meditating for very many years, you can still have days where you feel rubbish. You can still have days where your mind just feels, really burdened by things and work and challenges. That's okay. It's just part of life. That's life anyway. And it's the life of a meditator until we gain very deep realizations over time. So one part of it is there's nothing wrong with you, to the questioner.
Very good start.
You're just a normal person struggling with the challenges we all struggle with, but your meditation practice over time will continually improve your ability to deal with those situations, and especially to be able to maintain that peace, those feelings of happiness as soon as you move out of the meditation session. So again, I'd encourage the listener to really try and explore what you're doing in meditation, improve your meditation practice over time, and then gradually develop that consistency, which will naturally come as you sit to meditate more and more, because the more you sit to meditate and you start to experience that deeper peace and happiness, the more you can carry that into your daily life. It has this natural feedback mechanism where the next day you want to sit again, and the next day you want to live from that peaceful mind, that good heart more and more through your day in life. So it's normal, I'd say that first. But also it's just understanding really that if you're not able to maintain that peaceful mind in your day and in your life, it's because maybe we're just doing at the beginning like a lot of people do these days, whereas at the beginning you're doing maybe some simple breathing meditation, And so if you sit to do a breathing meditation, you focus on the breath instead of focusing on everything that's bothering your mind, you will experience this natural, gradual settling within the mind. Imagine the mind like this turbulent ocean, and the turbulent oceans of distracting thoughts, feelings, emotions when you turn in. But if you turn in and you move your attention from the waves of distraction and turbulence and to the breath, what you'll notice is this just gradual settling within the mind. Those thoughts, feelings, emotions dissolve back into the mind from where they came from, like waves dissolving back into an ocean. And then you experience this natural stillness, this natural settling, this natural peace within your heart, within your mind. What you come to discover through meditation over time is that peace is entirely natural to the mind. In fact, it's the essential nature of the mind. And the reason why we think it isn't is because we're often caught up in the turbulent thoughts, feelings, emotions, those waves of distraction and agitation. And in meditation, you begin to see, actually, I have this natural source of peace within me. As I tune into that peace, I feel this natural feeling of happiness, because you discover this pure happiness, or this deeper, more stable experience of happiness, is what comes from that peaceful mind. So you discover, when I sit to meditate, I can tune in to that natural source of peace and happiness within my mind. And I can feel that in meditation, and I can enjoy that in meditation. And that just comes in a breathing meditation from gently settling the mind.
Right.
But it's not enough. If we really want to be able to develop and maintain that peace and that potential for peace within our heart, within our mind, we need to train more deeply over time. We need to become familiar with the peaceful, positive states of mind in meditation that we can carry into our daily life and live from throughout our life. So meaning virtues such as love or compassion or wisdom. Meditation is really about becoming deeply familiar with these virtues within our heart that enable us to maintain a peaceful, positive mind no matter what's going on in our day and our life. So maybe the person who's asking the question, maybe, I don't know, but they maybe want to explore, what am I doing in my meditation practice? Just by letting go of what's bothering my mind, I can tune into that natural source of peace and happiness within my mind. And I can discover within that experience over time, I have a potential to experience a deeper peace and happiness over time. The way you develop and maintain that peace and happiness is by becoming deeply familiar with these qualities of the heart or qualities of the mind, such as love, compassion, and wisdom, so that you're able to continually maintain that peace throughout your day and life. So, for example, if I maintain a warm heart for the people in my life, a warm heart of affectionate love, let's say I'm able to continually reflect on or contemplate and meditate on the kindness of others. If I'm able to focus on the good qualities of others in meditation, then what happens is I naturally develop this quality of love in my heart that we all have the potential for and can be continually cultivated through meditation. And then what happens is I'm going about my day in life through my meditation practice. I'm starting to notice when I meet people, I have more of a warm heart and a loving concern for them. I feel they're important, their happiness matters to me, their freedom matters to me. And so you start to notice your mind's more at peace as you're interacting with other people. And that's just one quality of the mind we can develop through meditation. So instead of just the temporary peace of settling the mind, you're experiencing this deeper, longer lasting peace that comes from this deep inner heartfelt work that transforms the mind, so we start to live with more love or more compassion or more wisdom and more acceptance. And that's the key. It's not just experiencing the temporary peace of settling the mind, it's transforming the mind at the deepest level. That's what meditation really is. The most profoundly effective method to transform your mind at the deepest level, to experience gradually over time all good qualities of the heart, to experience a very deep peace and happiness. And of course, if you're anything like me at the beginning, that seems like quite a stretch. Okay, we'll start with settling the mind, connect to that peace. As we've looked at in previous podcasts, identify with that peace as your potential for change, to find a deeper peace and happiness within you. However, we need to continually improve that practice if we're wanting to maintain that peaceful, positive mind in our day and in our life. And that's how we do it, through these particular meditation practices. And within the Kadampa Buddhist tradition, we have this set of meditation practices known as the Lamrim stages of the path to enlightenment. It's where we become deeply familiar with these meditations on wisdom, on love, on compassion, and so forth, so that we transform the mind and we start to see the world from that perspective. We're able to see others with more love, more compassion. We're able to live with life with more wisdom that understands where real peace and happiness comes from. So no matter what's going on in your life, you're able to maintain that.
Yeah.
However, this is the point I'd say to the person's particular question. Why is it I'm not able to maintain those peaceful feelings, even if you're doing these kind of meditations? It's important to understand that when we're meditating, it's a heart practice. We have to be meditating from the depths of our heart. We need to learn methods to get deep into our heart. And within the Buddhist meditation tradition, in particular the Kadampa Buddhist meditation tradition that I train in, it teaches you the methods to access that deep experience of peace in your heart and to meditate from that place. So that if I'm generating this deep feeling of love in meditation practice, I want to be feeling that deep in my heart in meditation. And as I start to feel that deep in my heart, what it does is gradually over time, it enables me to maintain mindfulness in daily life. And mindfulness in this context, and maybe we'll explore it more in depth in another podcast, but in the context of the way we understand it, in the way that Buddha taught it 2,600 years ago, it's just simply non-forgetfulness, meaning you don't forget that love in your heart, to put it simply. You're able to remember that loving feeling. You're able to remember that experience of love in your heart. You're able to hold that love throughout your day and throughout your life and to live from there. And of course, if you have a genuinely peaceful mind and warm heart of love, well, then you're able to maintain that peaceful feeling throughout your day and throughout your life. So it's your mindfulness that enables you to establish and maintain that peaceful mind, that loving heart, for example. And that happens when you learn to meditate deep in your heart. You become deeply familiar with these teachings and these practices to develop that love in your heart. And as a result of increasing mindfulness in meditation and improving concentration in your meditation practice, you notice this naturally establishes a mindfulness throughout your day and life, so that when you're with your family and friends, you notice you're more just consistently maintaining a warm heart of love. You're not as angry and frustrated with them as you used to be. Of course, you'll have days where that mindfulness collapses, of course, at the beginning and for a very long time, and that's okay. You're just learning to train and improve it day by day. But you develop this alertness, what we call this, it's like a non-judgmental awareness, but there's a wisdom aspect. You notice when you're living from that peace of mind and warm heart of love, and then you're getting a bit irritated with somebody. You become aware of that, but without any judgment. You're just aware of where you're at. You're aware that you're getting a bit irritated. And instead of indulging the angry thoughts and feelings, you relax, let them go. You come back to reestablish your mindfulness of that peace of mind and warm heart of love. Now you're working in daily life to be able to maintain those feelings through maintaining these peaceful, positive minds or these virtues such as love. So in that way, if we train in that way, we'll start to deepen that experience and we'll be able to carry those peaceful feelings more and more throughout our day and life.
Right, thank you. And how can we do the opposite of that, or can we do the opposite of that, where we use our experiences in daily life? Can we bring that into the meditation? Because I kind of, in my mind, as you were talking, I kind of got this, I saw this kind of cycle between the meditation and everyday life. And so is there something there that can help maintain these minds in daily life?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because often when people think of meditation, they think it's like these meditators and they just sit down and they just sit and that's it. You do your meditation session and then you get on with your day in life. But actually, meditation is really more of like an approach to life. There are two aspects to a meditator's life. There's the meditation session, that formal session in the morning. So for somebody who's new, it might be 10 or 20 minutes of meditation in the morning. And then there's the rest of your life. We call that the meditation break, meaning everything else outside of the formal meditation session. But it's not a break from meditation. It's a break from the formal meditation session. So the whole idea of meditation is to develop these good qualities of the heart, to develop this deeper love, this deeper compassion, this deeper wisdom in your heart in the meditation session. This place of living from that pure potential within your heart for all those qualities. You deepen your experience of that in meditation so that you can live from that experience in your daily life. So it's not like as soon as you finish the formal meditation session, you're not working from that place in your heart and improving those qualities within your heart, within your mind, within your life. You're using everything in your day and in your life to continually improve those qualities. And so if, like, for example, you completely lose your warm heart of love during the day, and you get upset and angry with someone, instead of berating for yourself for that, you think, oh, that's interesting. I wasn't able to maintain that. So let me work with that in meditation the next day. Let me see what triggered me. Maybe some tendency towards anger or something. Let me look more deeply into that in my meditation session, so that next day I can start to work from a better place the day after. So in my meditation session the following day, I bring whatever's happening in my daily life and I work with that. That's the kind of work we want to be doing, this deep, heartfelt work that feels alive, that feels dynamic, that feels engaged with our everyday life. So the experiences in your day and your life can either encourage you as to how things are going better, you're living with more peace, more love, more kindness, but can also encourage you where you need to improve. Oh yeah, I'm losing it here and there. Maybe I need to apply that wisdom the next day in my meditation session to see how I can become free of that.
Right.
So one of the things that people struggle with a lot is they find it hard to maintain a consistently peaceful, positive, and happy mind. And that's normal, It's if you're not doing this inner work, it's really difficult to do that. I mean, in the book New 8 Steps to Happiness, my teacher, Geshe Kelsang, he talks about this. He says, if we're not meditating daily or consistently, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but if we're not meditating regularly, it's very difficult to maintain a peaceful, positive mind in daily life. So we can understand the reason why we all find it difficult to maintain a peaceful, positive, and genuinely happy or joyful mind in everyday life. It's not because we're not capable of it. It's just that we're not using a method like meditation to deepen and stabilize that experience. So he talks about how meditation gives you this space to step back from your life, to completely step back and to look at your life with perspective, to look at things with perspective, to really gather your thoughts and look at life from that place, so that actually, as we sit in meditation, we're engaging dynamically with our everyday life and we're looking at our life from that wisdom, from that compassion. And in that inner reflection in the morning in our meditation session, we're transforming how we see ourselves, we're transforming how we view others, we're transforming how we view life. And then we're bringing that experience into our day in life, and we're using our day in life to continually inform and deepen that experience, so that your meditation isn't some 10 to 20 minute session in the morning.
Yeah.
The meditator has a particular way of life. It's the formal meditation session and then the meditation break. And the meditation break, as I said, is not a break from meditation. It's just the bit where you're not practicing formally in meditation. But of course, it's important to understand, as a friend of mine once said, you can't have a meditation break unless you have a meditation session.
Oh, there's a catch.
There's always a catch. So you need to engage in that daily meditation practice over time. And then during the day, start to apply those insights, those experiences to your daily life. And in that way, you're able to maintain a more peaceful, positive, genuinely happy mind in daily life.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question. A lot of people are turning into meditation apps. My colleague found the app good initially, but now she wants to progress to deeper trainings. Is it possible to do that through an app, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think the question is almost like they're answering their own question, because I think anything that helps you to begin with to gain some confidence in your ability to sit and meditate is a fantastic thing. So a guided meditation, if it's on an app or in any other form, that's great. I mean, it really is, because I think what most of us struggle with is, your first time you sit down to meditate and you're turning your focus and attention inwards. It feels like your mind is like that turbulent ocean we've spoke about. It's like there's just all these turbulent thoughts, feelings, emotions, and it's just such a deeply uncomfortable experience. And even if, you know that you're supposed to focus on the breath instead of all the turbulent thoughts and feelings and emotions, it just feels like you're carried away by those waves over and over again. And you just feel like discouraged for a lot of people that they can't focus. So it's good to have a guided meditation at the beginning to give yourself some confidence that somebody's guiding me through this, at the beginning at least, so that I can gain a little bit of confidence that I'm going in the right direction. And of course, if it's a qualified guided meditation, then of course it's guiding you in a direction, hopefully, where you can develop that confidence and that experience over time. And so it's a bit like when you first, ride a bike. It's good when you're 3 or 4, not to get straight on the bike, but to maybe get stabilizers. So at the beginning, you can feel confident that you can get on it without falling over and that you can go where you need to go. And it's a bit like that with guided meditations. It can be really helpful at the beginning for somebody to develop some growing confidence in their ability to meditate. But what I'd say is, as I said earlier on, it's almost the question is answering it, because we start to train in those guided meditations for a period of time, and then we realize that has helped me. I've kind of experienced a little bit more peace, a little bit more space in my mind, but it's not deep enough and it's not consistent enough for me to be able to deal with the challenges we meet in everyday life. I remember this myself when I started meditation, back in whenever it was, 97, showing me age. When I started meditation, I really loved it, and I took to it very well at the beginning. I deeply enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was perfect. It certainly wasn't by any stretch of the imagination. But I was meditating for some time before I started to realize that I kind of almost hit a ceiling. So I was more calm, I was more spacious. Maybe I had a little bit more wisdom. Not so very much, but a little bit more wisdom. But what I noticed is I worked in the corporate world back then, and as my career started to grow, I started to buckle. I started to feel the stress and the strain of that, the anxiety of having to deal with all of these challenges. And I noticed at that time that the meditation practice that I was engaged in then, which was relatively simple, needed to go far deeper for me to actually be able to not just survive my day and my work, but actually to enjoy it. And so you eventually realize, actually, we all hit a ceiling if we're only doing this kind of superficial level of training and meditation. And so it's a bit like, I guess it's a bit like the analogy of a weekend surfer versus a master surfer.
Oh, right. Tell us that. Tell us about that.
Well, you know this. So a weekend surfer, they may go out on the waves and they're quite happy with the low waves, and they're feeling like quite confident. But then if they go,
that's me now. That's me. So tell me about you.
Yeah. So then they go out and then they try to tackle a slightly bigger wave, and they realize they have no balance for that whatsoever, and they get discouraged and they give up or whatever. Whereas a master surfer uses those waves and continually uses those waves to work and continually improve. They actually see their growth, their development, their mastery in the bigger waves.
Okay.
So it's a bit like that. When I was working in corporate world, I realized that this is great. The meditation practice was hugely helpful. But if I'm honest, it was relatively superficial. And I realized that for me to really enjoy life and to really be able to deal with these bigger waves and these bigger challenges I was facing in my work and my life, I needed to double down and go deeper in my practice. And that's when I discovered the beauty of meditation, and in particular the beauty of this particular lineage of Kadampa Buddhist meditation, because for me, it was so accessible and so practical and so clear as to what I needed to do on a daily basis to begin to develop these good qualities of the heart, such as love, compassion, wisdom, patience, generosity. That really energized me, because I thought every day I sit and work with these qualities and develop them in my heart in meditation, I'm able to take that experience into my life and be able to deal with, at least a bit better than I was able to before, the challenges I face in my work and my life. And so I would say it's that understanding that we all need to gradually over time evolve it. So the app's great at the beginning. Any guided meditation's great at the beginning. But over time, there's deeper work to be done, and you will hit a ceiling, because meditation eventually has to be this completely inner work. Whereas if you're being guided by a meditation and somebody's guiding it, your ear sense awareness is going to that sound. And really meditation's a mental action, it's an entirely mental activity. You want to really go deep into your heart and just work with the mind. Okay. And if the mind's constantly going out to a sound of a guided meditation, although that can be super helpful at the beginning, when you're doing the deeper, more subtle work of becoming free of what burdens your mind, your tendencies towards anxiety or stress or low self-esteem or limiting beliefs, when you're trying to become free of the anger, the attachment and so forth within the mind, you need to go deep into your heart and work with these meditations more subtly, more profoundly. And that requires you to come fully into your heart, deep into your heart. And then, as I was saying earlier on, that's what really transforms the mind when you're meditating from your heart. If we want to deepen our practice over time, and like the questioner's asking, it's kind of like she knows, she knows what the answer is. It's great, it got me to this point, fantastic, be delighted with that. But if you really want to go deeper, you can go deeper, but you're going to need to go fully into your heart and then start to work. Just on a relaxed basis, on a daily basis, go deeper in your heart. And all of the meditation practices that Buddha taught, these more subtle ways of working with your mind and your heart, everyone can practice over time. But we all start with the stabilizers generally.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So, I think some people listening to this might be asking, well, so I've been using an app and what you're saying makes sense, and I need to take the next step. So where do I go to take that next step? Do I just abandon the app and do it on my own? Or, and if I do, will I know what to do and how to do it? So where do I go if I decide to go deeper and move on from the stabilizers?
I would say to that question, and it's a good question, where do I go next? It's always the same answer, deep into your heart.
Okay.
How you go there, though, how you go there is important. It's important to explore and find for yourself a lineage, meaning a tradition of meditation that goes back a long time and that's been proven to be effective for everyone who's trained in it before. It's important to find a qualified lineage that you can deepen your experience of meditation. Now, it's a bit like, say, for example, when people go to Trinity or, Harvard or wherever. They go to those places of learning because they know there's a proven track record over centuries, I think, a proven track record of really high accomplishment of academic achievement and so forth.
Yeah.
And so they feel a trust in that particular lineage that's been handed down in these, esteemed universities and so forth. And so they trust that if I go there, I'm going to learn something that will be hugely practical for me in my future and in my life. And a lineage is a really important aspect and within meditation tradition. And it's being able to trace the lineage back so that, for example, in this particular lineage, it goes back all the way 2,600 years ago to Buddha Shakyamuni, who originally gave these teachings, and then passed them down from teacher to student, this unbroken lineage for over 2,600 years. And everyone who trained in that lineage and gained that deep, heartfelt experience was able to validate what Buddha was saying and everything we're exploring in these podcasts through their own direct experience. So I explored the lineage of the various teachings that Buddha taught, and then I internalized those experiences in my heart, and it validates what Buddha was saying. And therefore, I come to understand over time, this is a reliable method of training in meditation and application in daily life. And now I know I have a lineage I can trust through my own experience, not because somebody else is saying it. So I would say for that person, when you're thinking of what next, it's like, well, next is go deep into your heart. But what happens before that? Find a lineage, whatever tradition you feel that resonates for you in your heart. Find a lineage that is a qualified lineage, and the teachers within that lineage are qualified to help you get deep into your heart.
Yeah.
And so it's that I would encourage anybody to do. And then, of course, if you have a local class of that particular lineage close to you or that particular teacher, well, that's amazing. You can then try it out, see if it works for you. Everyone has different karma, everyone has different tendencies. You have to go with what you feel in your heart resonates for you, and then just try it. And then again, over time, you'll start to see how that helps your practice. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks very much. I'm interested now to ask the next question, because you talked about your career in the corporate world, before you became a full-time meditation teacher. So this questioner asks, I'm very ambitious and driven in my career. Is that drive unhealthy from a Buddhist perspective? And how can meditation help me to temper it?
Yeah, really good question. So I'm very ambitious and driven.
Yeah.
It really depends. I mean, this is a classic Buddhist answer. It really depends.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're looking at your career from. I mean, you can have a lot of energy and a lot of drive in your career. That's a really good thing if it's coming from the right place in your heart. So it really depends, I would say.
You said the right place in your heart. What is that?
So let's explore that a little bit. So one version of being very ambitious and driven, and is often the case for many people now, is that we're coming from a place within our heart where we're identifying actually with some limitation. So one of the challenges we all have is, Buddha called our experience at the moment what he calls samsara. So that just simply means our mind is burdened by these delusions that we've been looking at, these unhealthy, unhelpful habits of mind, such as anger and attachment, and all those turbulent emotions they generate, like stress and fear, anxiety, and low self-esteem as a result of that. So what happens is, because our mind is burdened by those a lot of the time, and for many people, much of the time, what happens is we identify with those thoughts and those feelings and those habits of mind as if they in some way reflect who we are. So for most people, they're largely unconsciously aware of that. It's just they feel this kind of sense within them that something's not right. I don't feel particularly good within myself because I'm constantly getting angry or stressed or anxious or feeling like a little bit overwhelmed or burnt out. I'm not really paying any attention to that consciously, but I'm feeling that consistently. As a result of that, we don't feel particularly good within ourselves. And if you don't attend to that, after a while, you don't feel particularly good about yourself. Meaning, you in some ways think there's something missing in you. You never feel you're quite enough, or never feel you're quite not good enough because of you're carrying this burden within your mind that you're in some way actually will look at mistakenly identifying with as it reflects who you are, when really it just reflects what you're struggling with, and you haven't really, in fairness to everybody, we haven't really even known we can deal with.
Yeah.
So because we're not feeling particularly good within ourselves, we get to this point where we don't feel particularly good about ourselves or good about life. Then what happens as a result of that? We're starting to relate to this sense of self that never feels enough or never feels good enough. And we feel this drive to accomplish all these various things in our life, to really push ourselves in our career so that we get to a place of success and fame and fortune where we eventually feel good within ourselves, good about ourselves, and good about life. But anyone who's ever worked in that way, like pushing and striving and trying to find happiness in that way, they'll all report back, if they're honest, and have an honest conversation about it, that you never feel you've quite got there. You never feel you're quite enough. I remember this many years ago. I was teaching in Oslo at the time, and I was teaching on this topic, and this lady said to me, she said, she put her hand up and she obviously looked quite wealthy and quite affluent. She said, I just want to ask, is if I didn't have that drive within me though, I would never have accomplished what I've accomplished. And she clearly had accomplished a lot, seemed quite wealthy. She said, if I didn't have that drive within me, I would have never accomplished this. And I said to her, but do you ever feel like you've actually got there? Like, do you ever feel like it's enough? And she just looked a little bit emotional and said, no, I never feel it's enough, and I never feel like I've got there. So what I'd say to everyone is just, acknowledge that. Just see that within yourself, if that's going on, if that's what's driving your ambition, because you will never feel like you've got there. You will never feel like it's enough. You'll never feel like it's good enough until we start to resolve these tendencies within the mind that are creating this sense of this ordinary, limited sense of me who feels like I'm never there, I'm never good enough. And then what happens is, if you start to then honestly acknowledge that, then you can work with these trainings to begin these inner development, or this development within training, within meditation and these teachings of Buddha. You can start to turn in and think, okay, here are these tendencies within my mind. A lot of anger within my mind, I have a lot of stress within my mind. I feel overburdened within my mind. And Buddha taught all of the methods to begin to reduce the power of those tendencies within the mind and gradually become free of those tendencies within your mind over time. So what happens is, as you're training daily in meditation and bringing that experience, as we've been looking at, into your daily life, you begin to reduce the burden of these unhealthy emotions or tendencies. You start to feel more consistently good within yourself. As a result of that, you start to connect with that potential to change and that peaceful mind and good heart that everybody has the capacity for, and these trainings help you cultivate. So you start to feel more consistently good about yourself. You start to actually begin to experience the pure potential that lies within everyone for deep peace, for deep happiness, for good qualities of the heart. Everyone can experience that through daily training and meditation, and as we've been exploring in daily life. And then what happens is you start to live from that place of pure potential. You start to live from an increasingly peaceful mind and good heart of love, compassion, and wisdom. So you feel good within yourself because you're maintaining a peaceful, positive mind throughout your life. You start to feel good about yourself. You start to understand the truth of who you really are and this potential for who you can become more and more. And you start to feel good about life and the possibility for your life. I can find a far deeper peace and happiness within me than I thought possible before. I can actually help people from this peaceful mind and good heart of love and compassion and wisdom more and more. So you're relating to what we call within Buddhism your Buddha nature, your true potential, the truth of human potential. This pure potential within everyone's hearts for the deepest love, the most all-embracing love, the most deepest compassion, the deepest wisdom. And in that process of living from that place, finding a far deeper peace, happiness, and freedom from suffering over time. So you're living from that place of your pure potential now, not this feeling I'm never enough or I'm never good enough, and therefore driving yourself and pushing yourself and feeling worse about yourself. You're living from this peaceful mind and good heart of love, compassion, and wisdom. And then, of course, you start to develop a new drive and a new sense of vision for your life and everyone else. So maybe you're at work and you're thinking, this isn't just about me now making myself feel better about myself. Actually, what's driving me now, my sense of meaning and purpose for my day is, continually improving my own mind and my own peace and happiness and my good qualities. But as a result of that, I want to be there for others. I want to help others in whatever way I can. When I'm looking at this organization that I work for, how can I improve the health and well-being of everybody, not just myself? Right. When I'm looking at this world, how can I improve the health and well-being of everyone, not just physically, but spiritually? How can I help people? Because you're coming from this peaceful mind and good heart of love. Now, that's a hugely energizing mind. That's a hugely powerful mind. And gradually you're thinking, how can I help everyone really become free of the problems and the suffering they experience? And you get this very powerful compassion that starts to rise, that energizes everything you do. And so in this way, we can shift from this ordinary, limited way we see ourselves and feeling stuck in that and driven by that, feeling we're never enough and we're never quite getting there. But then we can start to shift to this experience of living from that peaceful mind and good heart, that pure potential. And then actually, I would say our dreams, our ambitions get far bigger. It's not just about me and me feeling better about myself. It's about me becoming the person that I want to be, and also helping everyone else become the people they want to be, and actually creating a world where everyone is benefiting. So I think that is a different kind of drive. And it's also a profoundly peaceful, energizing mind as well when we're coming from a deeper love and compassion for everyone.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So would I be correct in then saying what you're telling us, what Buddha is telling us is that it's the motivation by which you're ambitious that's important? And is it too kind of concise to say it's kind of, if it's fear driven because you're not enough, that over time using meditation and Buddhist wisdom, that we can transform that to a mind of love and cherishing others and not being self-centered, and that when that kind of a motivation, that's going to be beneficial for everybody. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a good point you bring up, Barry, because I think it's not just the motivation. It's gradually through your practice of meditation and applying this wisdom from Buddha, what you start to discover more and more deeply, that ordinary sense of self that you're normally relating to doesn't really reflect who you are. It's just an ego-limited idea. An ego-limited idea that's arising from what you're familiar with. So you're familiar with these unhealthy thoughts, feelings and emotions. As a result of that, we have this tendency within our mind to deeply identify with that as if it's who we truly are, when it's not. It's just what we're struggling with at the moment, and we haven't done any work to become free of moment to moment. So we relate to ourselves in that way. Because of that experience, we have this view of ourselves as this ordinary sense of me, and we grasp strongly at that. And our whole motivation becomes to serve and protect this ordinary limited me, and to make that ordinary limited me feel better about who I am. What Buddha described, and as you learn to train in these methods, is you get to see through that and actually see through the illusion of that. There is no ordinary fixed sense of you. Like I always say to people when they're saying I'm an anxious person, I always ask the question, who are you when you're not feeling anxious? And it's really important that people see that, because we think there's this permanent fixed sense of me, but we're changing all the time. It's just we're grasping at, meaning deeply identifying with, the feelings and the beliefs that we have as if they reflect who we are, as opposed to what we're experiencing in that moment. Now, as you train in these methods, you learn to step out of that experience. You, even in a simple breathing meditation, learn to calm the mind and let go of what's burdening your mind. And you start to tune into that natural peace, that natural goodness of your heart. You start to identify with that pure potential through this training. So you start to move beyond this ordinary way of relating to yourself. Now, as a result of that experience, you start to change your view of yourself.
Okay.
You start to think, actually, I have the potential to change. I have the potential to live with more love, more compassion, more wisdom. And then as a result of that, in the way that you're describing, comes your natural motivation. Okay. This is how I'm going to live. This is how I'm going to change. So It's your experience in meditation and daily life that transforms how you view yourself over time.
Yeah.
And then gradually starts to give rise to this newfound motivation. And your life begins to flow from that motivation. Instead of pushing and striving and grasping that we normally do.
Yeah.
What we try to do now is we start to learn that actually from my experience, my view changes, my motivation changes, and my life flows from that, this bigger version of my life. How do I bring peace and happiness to everyone, not just myself? Because now I know I have the potential to, and I'm cultivating that every day. I don't need to be neurotic. I don't need to be pushing and driving myself. I just need to allow my actions to flow from love, from passion, from wisdom. It's what we call in Buddhism within Mahayana Buddhism and within the Kadampa Buddhist tradition, the Bodhisattva, someone who's a friend of the world, someone who has a deep confidence in that pure potential within their heart, someone who learns to and comes to live from a peaceful mind and a good heart of deep love and compassion and wisdom, and someone who sees themselves as a result of that as a friend of the world. So how does a friend of the world try to change the world? Well, we think about everyone, not just a few people. And so that's a much bigger vision and a much bigger energy. How do I bring healing and happiness to a struggling world? Even if my world is just my little corner of my world, my family, my friends, or my organization I work in. So in this way, we have this new sense of self-identification and this new self-confidence that I can live from here, I can grow my life from here, and everything always feels like it's growing, evolving, and we're really enjoying our life instead of pushing and never feeling we're quite enough.
Lovely, lovely, brilliant. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. I've been meditating most days for years, but still struggle to be mindful at work. What am I doing wrong? So I know you talked about mindfulness earlier on, but is there an alertness and so on? Is there anything else that this person can do to be more mindful at work of what they're meditating on?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I mean, look, we all feel this. I mean, again, it's really important to understand the context within which we live, which is, again, it's this phrase that Buddha gave that sounds a bit exotic, but it really just explains our life at the moment. He described our experience of life at the moment as this samsara. And samsara just simply means our mind, in a simple way of describing anyway, it's just burdened at the moment by these unhealthy tendencies within the mind, such as anger, attachment, ignorance, jealousy, and again, all those turbulent emotions that they generate that we all feel, like anxiety, worry, stress, fear.
Yeah.
So Buddha said, like, that's the situation at the moment. Let's all be honest. When somebody says to you, how are you feeling today? And we're like, great. But we don't always feel great. It's what we say. And so I think there needs to be this emotional honesty going on for all of us and in our society especially, to just say, look, I'm not feeling great today, but it's not the end of the world. The only way we'll ever get that way is if we start to have this deeper wisdom that understands we're all in that space, we're all in that place, but we can improve that situation over time. That's the key. Buddha was really honest about, look, suffering and problems are normal. Having a turbulent mind, an angry mind, that's entirely normal for all of us, but we can improve it only when we first are honest about it and accept that that's the case at the moment.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, even someone who's learning to meditate, or even somebody who's been meditating for years, you're going to have some days that are just rubbish. In my experience, you're definitely going to have days like that. That doesn't reflect some inherent fault or limitation within you. It just reflects those faults of delusions that we all struggle from, such as anger, attachment, and so forth. So we have to be honest with ourselves, openly and honestly acknowledge what we're going through, and then we can then start to improve that. So I'm honest that I'm in this samsara, this experience of life, burdened by these delusions. But I also know I can gradually become free of them over time through training in this lineage, through training in this tradition, these practices. And so then you start to get a little bit more relaxed about that. So let's say you can't maintain mindfulness during your day, during your work. That's okay. It's energy, it's fuel to sit down and go a little bit deeper the next day in your meditation practice. Why is it we're not able to maintain mindfulness in our day and our life? Well, Venerable Geshe, what he talks about in the book Mirror of Dharma with Additions, he talks about unless the experience in meditation or the realization in meditation, maybe say, for example, you're developing this deeper mind of patient acceptance in meditation, which is just simply an ability to happily accept difficult people and difficult situations to save your peace of mind, which is a definition.
Could you say that again?
Yeah.
Because it's really, I think it's really useful. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a definition actually Geshe gave in some oral teachings many years ago, and I really enjoyed this because I just think it's just so encouraging to happily accept difficult people and difficult situations to save your peace of mind.
Right.
So we meet difficult people and situations every day. It's just a normal way of life. It's a normal day and a normal life. But what we normally do is when we meet difficult people and difficult situations, there's this immediate resistance in the mind that creates this stress and tension. And if that stays in the mind too long, we get angry and upset with them and it. Whereas what Buddha encouraged everybody to do is just learn to deeply accept what's going on in your life. It's normal to meet difficult people. It's normal to have a difficult day at work. It's normal to lose your mindfulness at work when you're working with your mind in this way. Being able to accept that, be at peace with that, helps you return to a peaceful mind and a peaceful heart. But what's good to do over time is, and again, this is a gradual process, is learn how to develop and maintain that peaceful mind. So what I mean by that is, through your training over time, what happens is you learn to live from that potential for peace and happiness and resilience within your mind. You learn to live from that pure potential, that peaceful mind and good heart more and more. So that over time, gradually, you feel this consistent sense of living from that peaceful mind and good heart. And then you meet a difficult person or situation.
Okay.
So you're not a Buddha, you're just training in this. And so, of course, you're going to get tense and tight and resist it. But what you want to do is just acknowledge that. Openly and honestly acknowledge how you're feeling, but not indulging it and saying, oh, I'm the worst person in the world, or they're the worst person in the world. Just openly and honestly acknowledge it. Let go of the temporary feeling. Maybe you focus on the breath and relax and breathe it away. And then just allow yourself to fully and wholeheartedly, meaning with all your heart, accept the reality in front of you. If you do, you'll immediately access a calm, peaceful mind. And therefore, you can work with the situation happily without feeling overwhelmed by it.
So you can do something about the situation then from that place. Is that
there and then. Right. But here's the point that's really important to the question that the person's asking. Why can't I do that then? Because, again, they're saying I've been meditating. Because in that book, Mirror of Dharma with Additions that I was mentioning earlier on, Venerable Geshe, he talked about this idea that unless the meditation object or the realization in meditation comes from the depths of your heart, it can't function in daily life. So unless you're sitting down to meditate and you're taking a bit of time to contemplate, what we've just explored there and allow that deep, heartfelt mind of patient acceptance to arise in meditation and rise from the depths of your heart, unless you're able to do that in meditation, it can function in your life. You can work with it to a degree just by, listening to teachings is enough for you to actually have some ability to a little bit accept things. But if you're going to be able to fully and wholeheartedly accept what's going on in your life, it has to come from the depths of your heart, this determination to fully and wholeheartedly accept whatever comes my way. And you contemplate that deeply and you think, well, the reason why I'm fully and wholeheartedly accepting whatever's coming my way is because it's normal. It's normal in life to meet suffering and problems, and it's happening. So me resisting it, getting stressed out about it, doesn't help it. Me fully and wholeheartedly accepting it gives me the peace of mind, the flexibility of mind, the resilience within my mind to work with it and through it without feeling overwhelmed by it. But again, I come back to that point. Why is it somebody finds that hard to do? Why is it we all find it hard to do, to accept things, to work with things? Because we're not working with a method such as meditation, to experience this deeply in your heart. So what happens is the more you experience it deeply in your heart, you establish a natural mindfulness in your mind. You're able to maintain that, like we were looking at in one of the other episodes. You're able to maintain that patient acceptance in your heart, hold it in your day and life. So actually your instinct over time is to relax and accept when you meet difficulty because you're coming from the depths of your heart, this experience. See, this is what we're struggling with in the world. We're hearing lots of ideas and concepts shared on social media. I heard somebody say it's a fire hose of information. Social media. It's just like we're just sharing all this information. But everybody's getting more and more discouraged because they think, oh, that's great. I can accept difficulties and so forth. But I like the idea, but I find it very hard to do it. Like people often say to me at the centre in Dublin, it's like, I like the idea and it makes common sense. I totally get that. But the problem for all of us and what we're struggling with, most of us, is it's not common practice. So how does it become common practice, natural, effortless, like flow for you? It's through taking this experience in meditation deep into your heart. So you establish a degree and an increasing degree of mindfulness in daily life, that when you meet a difficult person or situation, you're naturally able to accept it work with it without feeling overwhelmed by it. And that's what that person may want to think about is my meditation practice coming from the depths of my heart? Is it coming deep enough in my heart? Like, am I meditating deep, deep in my heart so that I transform my mind and then I begin to transform how I experience my day in life? So going back to what I was saying earlier on, it's not your fault. Everyone just isn't, you're not doing anything inherently wrong ever in meditation. You're just always learning how to do it that little better over time. So if you're experiencing that in life, don't worry. Just learn what it means to meditate from the depths of your heart. Yeah. And actually to that point. Just because I'm just thinking like, we're just going to leave that open and then the person's going to, what does that mean? There are many different meditation practices that help you to get deep into your heart. Within Buddhist meditation tradition, for those who are relatively new, my teacher, Geshe Kelsing, would often share this simple but profoundly useful meditation about how we get deep into our heart. And it's just this simple where we imagine the mind like a block of wood or a block of stone. And you think about that, you turn in, maybe you do a little bit of breathing meditation to settle the waves of distraction a little bit. And then you just imagine your mind becoming like a block of wood or a block of stone. You don't visualize a block of wood or a block of stone. You just imagine, what would my mind be like if it was the nature of a block of wood?
What would it feel like, is it?
Yeah, what would it feel like? Good point. Yeah. What would it feel like? What would it be like if my mind was the nature of a block of wood and stone? Basically, it would be inanimate, not moving at all, not thinking, not generating disturbing feelings, because a block of wood or a block of stone doesn't think or feel. So you use your imagination to induce this relaxation within the mind, to cause basically your busy conceptual thoughts, feelings and distractions to just gradually and gently cease. And what happens is when the busyness of the mind ceases through this kind of meditation, you begin to access a more subtle, more peaceful mind at your heart. You begin to become more heart-centered. And if you use that meditation practice at the beginning of your meditation, you begin to access a deeper peace, a more subtle mind at your heart. And it's there you want to be meditating from. It's there you want to be contemplating the patient acceptance and so forth, so that you transform the mind at the level of the heart, as opposed to what a lot of people think is when they're engaged in those contemplative style meditations. They're contemplating all in their head.
Right.
And then wondering why I can't maintain mindfulness at work.
Yeah.
So it's through this that you start to develop this deeper mindfulness. So when you're starting your meditation practice, or those who are engaged in the Lam Rim meditation system, they can just get deep into their heart in this way and then start to contemplate from there. And if you contemplate from there and you connect to, for example, the energy of enlightenment, what we call blessings in Buddhism, you can really transform the mind very deeply in your heart over time.
Wow, brilliant. This question, I like this question, because I just think it's really practical and a lot of us are challenged with it. So the questioner asks, how do you deal with difficult colleagues or bosses at work? Because you don't necessarily pick your colleagues or your boss, you're often stuck with them. So how do you deal with them when they're being difficult?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, none of us have these, but you know somebody who does. But the key is it's really simple, at the beginning at least, is to be very clear in your mind. The difference between an outer problem and an inner problem.
Right.
So in reality, for example, in the book, How to Solve Our Human Problems, it talks about this very beautifully. When we meet any problem in life, such as a difficult boss, we think the problem is the boss. It's my difficult boss or it's my difficult colleague. That's what we would define as an outer problem, the particular person. The real problem that we're experiencing at that time is the inner problem of being disturbed by their difficult behavior or their inappropriate behavior. That inner problem is the real problem. It's that we need to resolve first. So maybe we're getting stressed or fearful or anxious when this boss walks into the room. Yeah. The real problem isn't the person, it's our response within our mind. And I mean, I know that's hard for us to accept at the beginning. We think, no, it's them. They're the problem and it's their responsibility.
Yeah, if they weren't here, I wouldn't feel this unpleasantness.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard for us to accept that at the beginning, of course. But when you clearly define the difference between the outer problem, the difficult boss, or their particular behavior, and the inner problem, how I feel when I meet them or how I respond to or triggered by what they say and do. When you make that clear distinction, then you give yourself back, you empower yourself to actually deal with the real problem. The inner problem is disturbing thoughts, feelings and emotions or anger or resentment that I'm experiencing within my mind. If you're waiting for the boss to change for you to be happy, you're going to be waiting a long time potentially.
No,
because
this is not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. But they may not want to change. They might not have any capacity to change. They might be struggling with themselves so much that they find it hard to change any of their behaviors. But you can reclaim your capacity or ability to change by just saying, hey, my main problem right now is the inner problem. It's not that I'm not going to deal with the difficult boss out there over time. I first need to resolve the difficult problem I'm having with them in here. So let's say they walk into the room and you're feeling fearful, anxious, or angry. Instead of like indulging those angry thoughts, feelings, and emotions, just simply pay attention to it, openly and honestly acknowledge how you're feeling. That's what's really important for everyone when you meet difficult people and situations, to really learn what it means to openly and honestly acknowledge how you're feeling. Many of us find this very, very difficult, partly because we're not even aware of our own mind. Mostly during the day, we're feeling the feelings, we're generating the thoughts and emotions, but we're not really paying any conscious attention to the mind. So what we do in this kind of training is just openly and honestly acknowledge it. If you don't, or you fail to acknowledge it, you're simply repressing it. You're repressing those angry thoughts, stirrings, resentments, and pretending that you're okay with this difficult boss when actually you're feeling more and more agitated when they come in the room. So the first step is openly and honestly acknowledge how you're feeling. And then in this simple way of doing it at the beginning, just disengage from the feelings a little bit. Don't let them indulge them. Don't let them indulge the angry thoughts. Just focus on your breath, for example, or use the block of wood that we were talking about today. Just imagine the mind like a block of wood.
And can you do that, like, even if you're not in formal meditation?
Totally. If you're able to do that in formal meditation, you'll find it much more easy to access during daily life because, again, the familiarity in meditation leads to an ability to access it in mindfulness of it in daily life. Yeah. So if you're using that and you imagine the mind like a block of wood, you're not repressing anything. You're not suppressing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You're openly and honestly acknowledging what's going on in your mind without any judgment of yourself or thinking, oh, this means I'm an angry, worthless person. No, you're just openly and honestly acknowledging what's going on in your mind. So when you do that, and maybe you disengage from the angry stirrings or the turbulent emotions, then from that place, you come back to that peaceful refuge in your heart. And this is what we really work towards within the Buddhist meditation tradition, is developing this deeper refuge in peace and wisdom and in compassion in our heart. And as you return to that peaceful refuge in your heart, then and that potential to deal with this in a better, more wiser, healthier way, more constructive way, then just allow yourself to engage with that practice of patient acceptance. Fully and wholeheartedly accept there are difficult people. Because everyone struggles with their mind and they express that struggles with their mind in difficult ways that offend us. But actually, if we can just fully and wholeheartedly accept the difficult person in front of us, we come back to this sense of peace of mind, this mental balance, this equilibrium within the mind, which enables us to deal with this difficult boss and situation without feeling fear or without feeling in any way overwhelmed by them. So as we learn to accept it deeply in our heart, it's normal to meet difficult people and situations. Have you ever had a time in your life when you haven't met difficult people? Not yet. Or situations? So everyone experiences this. So we just allow ourselves to accept that. The resistance goes in our mind. We have this acceptance, this peace. And then we have the flexibility and the resilience in the mind to bounce back from that initial fear. We use the fear or the anger, resentment as a catalyst to build this resilience within us, to be able to accept it, work with it, and then speak your truth from there to the degree that we can speak our truth. Speak what it is that you need to talk to them about without any fear. So we're actually developing this deep inner courage through this acceptance instead of getting angry and overwhelmed.
So that kind of helps with the kind of question that's ringing in my head, and I'd imagine people listening to you is, am I going to, do I do that at the cost of this person doing some harm? If they, do I just like let them walk over me like a doormat, or, so how do we manage that?
I think that's a really important question because it always comes up. As you know, it's one of those questions where people are thinking, well, if I accept all of these difficult people and situations, I just become a doormat. Is that like, instead of acceptance, it's resignation? Yeah. It's like, I'm resigned to my fate. I'm resigned to my life being surrounded by difficult people and situations. That isn't the case. That isn't the practice of this. You're just accepting the unfolding reality in front of you, because it is unfolding in front of you. You're just basically aligning with the reality that's unfolding in front of you, relatively speaking. And in that acceptance, you're at peace with it. So then you can deal with it. Instead of dealing with it from this turbulent motions of fear, anxiety, stress, anger, trying to talk from that place and saying all the kind of things you would never say if you were coming from a better place. You're coming back to that inner refuge in peace and wisdom and compassion, and then you're speaking from that place. So you can challenge the person on their behavior. Okay. You can have a conversation without feeling overwhelmed by it. As we know, when we get caught up in turbulent thoughts, feelings, emotions, and anger, we say things we would never say when we're coming from a more peaceful, balanced place. So the key is, the real problem, I'm not saying the difficult boss isn't a problem you need to deal with and have a chat with. I'm saying that's the outer problem. Right. The real problem is the inner problem. Okay. First, let go of that resistance. Allow yourself to accept this reality and speak from that place of peace. Speak from that place of wisdom and compassion. And then what you'll start to see is you're able to deal with things without feeling overwhelmed by them. So in this situation, gradually over time, whether it's your boss or somebody else in your life, you're able to be in a place of strength within your heart so that you're able to deal with everything without feeling overwhelmed by anything. And also you have this newfound flexibility and resilience, so that the next time a difficult person walks into the room, you notice you're not so fearful and you're not so anxious. Okay. Because we're only fearful and anxious when we think, I can't deal with this. But if you're dealing with this daily and improving that over time, you know, I can deal with this.
Well, you're getting confidence.
By letting go of those fears, letting go of that anxiety, accepting the reality, and then working with it. So you develop, like you say, this newfound confidence.
Brilliant, brilliant. The word, one of the words you mentioned there, refuge. I'm sure people are wondering, what does that mean? So maybe that's something we could explore in a future episode, because I think it's really interesting. But for now, we're going to leave it there. Thank you, Kadam Adam. It's been wonderful again talking to you and listening to all that wonderful wisdom. Thank you for listening. We hope you got something from today, and if you'd like to tune in the future, please press that subscribe button and follow button, and we'll hopefully be with you again soon. Thanks very much.